everybody, it's Dr. Klein from The Fix. Today we're going to be talking about walking. How's the mic there, Alex? But before we do that, we got a special guest to introduce. This is Phil number 2. Now, Phil number 1 was from Rimrock Wellness Center, and I'm wearing their gear today. But I understand that Phil is his own person, so he probably wants his own name. So you guys can help vote on what we should name Phil number 2. Phil appreciates that. I was going to name him Bill Bone Backens, but my wife didn't like that name, so we probably won't go with that. Mic is working. Good. All right, Phil. Or Bill Bone or Backens. Mr. Backens. Let's talk about walking. Also, NEPA Fix, you can go schedule a visit right now. So there's a maintenance fix, there's a corrective fix, and there's an intensive fix. So all those are different time periods. And if you want to bring your significant other and you've already had your initial consult, you can actually split that time if you want. So you can take that half hour, 15 minutes for you, 50 for that special person in your life or a family. Would even work out too. Also, it's not running yet, but my goal is to have live classes, Zoom calls where I can hear you, can talk to me, and have groups of people. If people are interested in that or you just want to support these videos, you can go to my website and you can subscribe for that. It's $5 for a month, so it's not much at all. It goes to help support me making the videos, better equipment, and everything I've put on YouTube for the past couple of years now. All right, let's get to the walking. So we've got a weight like a kettlebell or a dumbbell, something like that. That's going to help us lift up against that weight, gravity, and that's going to help initiate our hips here, right? So we want the hip working. A lot of times the hip is closed down, and we think closed is this way, but that's not actually how it works. The hip closing, you think about that femoral head is going into the socket, and we think, oh, we got to open up the hips. That's not actually what we need to do here. We need to get the hip rotating, this bone on the outside, the trochanter turning that way, and that's actually going to open up all these tight muscles, because you have the big muscles like all your glutes, glute medius, glute max, glute minimus, all attaching here, turning this way, and then you have the smaller muscles like the piriformis that everyone talks about, obturator internus, again turning this in, and that causes this jamming in the hip. So that's going to throw off our walking. So we need that to turn inwards. We actually need to close down the hip that way. So now I don't want you walking pigeon-toed, right? That's not the goal either. It's just a subtle activation. And like I said, we got to train this to happen. So a weight is a good way to start. Normally you start without weight, but we'll start with the weight, work our way into not having the weight in our hands. Well, thank you, Bill Bone. I'll get back to you. And your real name one day. All right, let's get our kettlebell up here in the air. There's a lot I can say about hinging, lifting that bell up, being careful with it. So we call the rack position. So we're going to grip the ground with both feet. The foot that's going to be planted is the left foot. So it's probably the opposite for you because I got the camera towards me. So just pretend right foot. What I'm going to do is I'm going to put my weight in my heel, ball the big toe, ball the little toe, and then I'm pulling backwards. I'm not pulling backwards. My foot goes up. That's one big mistake I always made doing a lot of foundation training, is my weight would shift way too in the heels. We do want the balls of the feet continuing to grip the ground, almost like I'm taking this mat, I'm trying to drag it behind me. So I'm pulling that weight, I can feel that hip starting to resist, push up against that. The right foot's going to kick out like that. Really simple. The weight just makes you actively push to that heel. I'm pulling those toes towards me, I'm activating a muscle called the tibialis anterior. This hip is now lifting, and I can automatically feel all those tight muscles I just described getting stretched as I'm activating inner thigh, the adductor through here, and the psoas. And it's okay to even lean back a little bit. The last thing you want to do though is bend. And where that bend happens is right here in the spine, or the SI joint. So that L4, L5 area wants to cave forward. So what you can think about is Bill Bones right here. Think about that pelvic bone where those two ramuses meet. We're pulling that back. So you don't want that ever shifting forward. Even if I'm bringing that leg forward, I'm keeping that area right back there. So you can touch those bones, make sure that's not dumping forward, right? Big breath, pulling that area right back, kicking forward. So after you do about 10 of these on one side, you switch to the other side. The other thing that's okay is letting that knee go over the toe. You can guide yourself, keep your hand there. On that pubic symphysis is the fancy word there. It was evading me for a second. Or the bones right there. Let's switch to the right side. Again, treat that kettlebell with respect. You're gonna swing it through the legs. Use your hips to swing it up. Get in that rack position. Planting that right foot. Pretend like you're a tree and you got roots coming out of your foot, digging deep into the ground. It's that rooting of the foot, the gripping, the grabbing, pulling forward. This is my bad leg. So use that hip drive up. Get about 10 on this side as well. I want to encourage the breath to start working here as well. I'm sure you can do things like presses in this position. Right now, just keep it simple. The foot should activate on its own. Just make sure that you're gripping first. Sometimes the foot's collapsed, gripping. So now that we're done with the weight, that's going to help train us to, oh yeah, I'm driving up. My whole body, back of my skull is driving up. Pulling the ground behind me, stabilizing, kicking that other leg forward, training that tibialis anterior to do more action when you're walking. Now let's add a little step to that without the weight. Switch back over to my left foot. So plant, same step, I'm stepping forward. Pull those arms nice and long. Push that front heel into the ground. The 3 points of contact on the left are also pushing into the ground. Here I can really feel that left hip opening up even more than when I had the weight. Just imagine you got that kettlebell, it's on the top of your head, the back of your skull, and you're pushing up against it. And you got 2 bowls of water in each hand. Just scoop those bowls of water. Don't drip a drop. Don't spill a drop. Pull those hips behind you. Bring those 2 bowls of water together. You're hinging the hips back. Then come back to the first position with the arms wide. I'll show you that from the side with the other leg. So switch it up. Still rooting through that foot. Letting that knee shift forward as the hip pulls back. It's a good tug of war. Either that knee wants to go forward and the pelvis follows, or the hip comes back in time. I'm pulling the hip back, knee goes forward. It's going to challenge that hamstring a little bit. You're also going to feel that in the front of the quad working too. Big and long, big and tall. Pushing both contacts. Some people just push that bottom foot, push through that forward foot as well. You're trying to lift your whole body off the ground. You really feel this tibialis anterior muscle working right here. It's a powerful dorsiflexor. Then we're going to hit that hamstring on the left by pulling the right hip back. Bowls of water together. Big breath in here. Exhale, nice and tall. If you're not falling over, you're not doing it right. That's what I always say. You should be testing your balance. The more you resist the ground, you get tall. The more shaky, then the more change. If you have great balance doing this, then test yourself more. Get big and tall. Really make it a challenge. So you did 10 with the weights on both sides. 10 of those, both sides. The last thing, you can make this a little funky kind of like Tai Chi walk that I like to do when no one's looking. Sometimes people are looking and I don't know, or I'm on Facebook Live. So it's the same thing, you're just taking it into a walk. So I bring that left foot forward, and pull myself that way. It's where I can kind of test your balance a little bit. Walk forward. Now you can turn around, or you can go ahead and reverse this, which is a bit of a brain game at first. You're pulling that toe, pulling that toe. Sometimes I like to pretend like I'm about to fight somebody, and then get the breathing going with it. Big breath in. And then reverse it. So if you got a mat like me, go back and forth. 5 times forward, 5 times back. That's 10. That should help the walking. So now what your foot's going to want to do is your body's going to use your psoas, your adductor, to not strike as hard with the foot. That's, I hear people like pounding. They're walking around. It's like bam, bam, bam. That's a lot of pounding that travels up through your joints. So one way to walk better, and why it helps the rest of your body, is the strike is softer, because you're controlling it more. It's not just the heel of your shoe that's absorbing it. Your joints need to accept that. Your muscles need to control the strike. That's part of it. Next thing is you're bringing that foot down. The foot is gripping those 3 arches of the foot. Medial, transverse, lateral are pulling. They're cupping and pulling with each step. Now you could really slow this down like we just did. The more you train just these few steps, you'll actually start walking a lot better. So it's not always thinking, oh, I gotta step really quiet. Be like Dr. Clyde said, it's a little bit every day. And it'll come, and that will train a lot of things. Your feet will be doing a lot better. This has definitely helped me. It'll help you with things like foundation training. You're going through the baseline, really think about the feet and rooting through the feet. And that'll help you with everything you're building. So don't be like me, because I'd always, I kind of start in the balls of my feet. As soon as I hinged, my toes would start going up. I totally lost the rooting. That, even that helped me a lot. But once I got the feet working for me, I could feel that tension a lot more. I'm gripping, 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 pulling the hips back, and then suddenly it's all through the legs. And you could take those principles and apply them to your kettlebell workouts, your deadlifts. That could be a big difference between deadlifting in pain or rooting the feet, and you notice that, oh, my back no longer hurts when I'm deadlifting. Then you're building a stronger foundation and stability in your spine. Sometimes you get the feet right, the rest of the body follows. Hopefully that was helpful. Thank you, Bill Bone Backins. Again, if you want to throw your vote in for Mr. Bill Bone's new name, or if you like Bill Bone Backins, give me a thumbs up. Say Bill Bone is the name, or Phil number 2. Let's end with a high five. Save your back, one video at a time. Check out me at nepafix.com.